Hello, Professor. My name is Andrew Lubney, and I'm here with Sally Stern, Susie Trick, Nick Burgess, and Ernesto Sejas. We're going to be talking to you today about Airbnb and its placement within the lodging industry. So the first thing we're going to do is apply Michael Porter's Five Forces model to the lodging industry and see what it tells us about the nature of competition within it. We're also going to talk about the competitive advantages and disadvantages Airbnb has within the industry, along with strategies they've used to manage entrance and rivalry within the industry. We've also chosen to briefly touch on how competitors have reacted to Airbnb and the complementary services that are a part of the lodging industry. So we're going to start our analysis of Airbnb and the lodging industry by applying Michael Porter's Five Forces model, which is a method of analyzing an industry using 5 different metrics: the threat of new entrants, bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of buyers, the threat of substitutes, and rivalry among existing competitors. The first of these that I would like to talk about is the threat of new entrants. Within the hotel industry, incumbents have a significant advantage over new entrants due to the high barriers to entry. Perhaps the biggest barrier is the capital requirement. Building and maintaining hotels or other lodging establishments consumes a vast amount of capital and time that many companies cannot afford. Additionally, name recognition is also important to some people within the luxury segment of the market. Some travelers are unwilling to sacrifice the prestige associated with staying at a Hilton or Marriott hotel. This type of name recognition would be considered an advantage independent of size and is also a significant barrier to entry. The next metric I'd like to talk to you about is the bargaining power of suppliers. Within the lodging industry, the power of suppliers is virtually non-existent, and the main input into the service is labor. Traditional hotels utilize many employees to provide their service, yet these employees are largely unskilled, easily replaceable, and not unionized. Even when these employers are unionized, their power is severely limited because they heavily depend on the industry for their income, and these employees cannot easily take their services and sell them to different industries or transport them to different locations. Next, I'm going to hand you over to Susie to talk about the other 3 metrics in Porter's Five Forces model.
Next, I'm going to talk about rivalry in the lodging industry. Within the hotel industry, intensity of rivalry is high. The high capital requirements make entry and exit barriers high. Also, industry growth is relatively timid, which causes top companies in this industry to fight for market share. Rivalry within the industry also depends on demand and seasonality. Airbnb is different from its rivals, though. Its fixed costs are low because its capacity is fluid, and the company doesn't actually lose money on vacant rooms. Listings range from entire luxury apartments in the best parts of town to bunk beds tucked away in random suburbs. Its plethora of lodging options also varies with seasonality, and more units become available during times such as New Year's Eve. Airbnb has significant growth potential and is a valid threat to the hotel industry in America. Rivalry within the hotel industry is high overall, but currently Airbnb does not face high direct competition because it offers different services than a traditional hotel. Competition is expected to strengthen as Airbnb encounters more direct competitors or captures more revenue away from traditional hotels. Overall, our analysis of the 5 forces' impact on the lodging industry shows that the lodging industry is a highly competitive market. Hotels already competed on a price and quality basis before Airbnb came onto the lodging scene, but the rise of the shared economy service shifted the hotel market to give more power to buyers and to reflect buyers' tastes more accurately. The nature of competition will continue to grow stronger until hotels can outperform the unique qualities of an Airbnb experience.
Airbnb's revenue and cost structure, its ability to scale, its use of network effects, the sharing economy, and big data, and its trusted review system among peers provide the company with a competitive advantage when compared to other members of the lodging industry. Airbnb's revenue and cost structure provides it with a competitive advantage because Airbnb has almost no incremental costs. Because Airbnb does not own any of the actual accommodations that guests book, Airbnb has lower fixed costs when compared to competitors. Airbnb's ability to scale with relative ease compared to competitors has become a competitive advantage. Airbnb is a peer-to-peer platform which enables individuals to buy or sell services directly from one another. Airbnb is able to scale its supply of available accommodations almost instantaneously. The company has a competitive advantage because of the network effect, which describes an economic scenario in which the higher the usage of a product or service, the higher its value becomes for other users and consumers of the product. The company experiences network effects by listing the widest selection of sellers and attracting the most customers for the sellers. Becoming a facilitator in the sharing economy has provided Airbnb with a competitive advantage because the sharing economy helps parties make use of idle inventory through fee-based sharing. The use of big data provides Airbnb with a competitive advantage. Because hotels do not have data on guests' future travel plans and accommodation preferences, and because hotels provide a homogeneous product, it will be harder for hotels to take advantage of big data in the way that Airbnb can. Airbnb also has a competitive advantage because of its trusted review system among peers. Guests leave detailed reviews after their stay that rate their host and location based on several factors, and hosts leave a review of their guests, which provides assurance for other hosts that may book with the same guest. A potential competitive disadvantage for Airbnb when compared to hotels is its relatively ill-defined service offering. In general, hotels offer homogeneous service. Because Airbnb does not offer homogeneous service, a consumer will likely not have the same level of certainty because the service is not standardized and there is no general reputation for the consumer to rely on. Airbnb faces potential legal issues because of its ill-defined business environment. Airbnb should be cautious when entering new markets and also assess the legal environment that applies to its current listings, or the company may face significant legal implications that could be a competitive disadvantage. Despite some potential competitive disadvantages, Airbnb has achieved a virtuous cycle through its low cost structure and greater bargaining power with hosts, which helps Airbnb increase volume and continue to keep prices low. Now that I have discussed Airbnb's competitive advantages and disadvantages, Nick will be going over Airbnb's market entrance and complementary services.
Thank you, Sally. Airbnb's most difficult task was finding a way to gain traction in the lodging market. At the time, the target market Airbnb was trying to reach was composed of customers looking for something other than the standard hotel experience. The market for these customers already existed on a different platform, Craigslist. In order to reach these customers, Airbnb first created an in-app option to link Airbnb listings to Craigslist. Although this gave more traffic to Craigslist, it allowed them to reach more customers. Airbnb then did something very unique. For every rental listing posted on Craigslist, Airbnb had written a computer program which would send a message to the seller telling them they should also post the listing to Airbnb. By then, Airbnb had entered the market and effectively reached their target audience. To reach overseas markets, Airbnb led a series of acquisitions, essentially purchasing access to the already existing lodging market. Airbnb's use of variable guest and host fees to generate revenue contrasts with their competitors' use of fixed subscription costs. The chart on the right-hand side of the screen illustrates the costs for each of these companies at different levels of revenue. As you can see, fees become substantially higher under Airbnb once revenues surpass $5,000 per year due to its variable cost structure. Users looking to earn rental income greater than $5,000 may benefit monetarily by looking at other companies. It is evident that Airbnb hasn't focused on its fees in differentiating itself from competitors. Instead, Airbnb has focused on the amount of freedom given to users. By handling transactions, allowing for instant bookings, and streamlining the reservation process, the website allows for an extremely high volume of bookings at small amounts of effort to the user. Airbnb has differentiated itself by offering an easier, more convenient service. In the lodging industry, it has been argued that Airbnb has a few complementary services. According to Sébastien Bazin and Oliver Gremijon of Accor, a French company which owns, operates, and franchises over 3,700 hotels, Airbnb is a complement to their hotel business. Airbnb provides the benefit of alleviating customer demand for hotels that cannot always be met during periods of peak occupancy. Many argue that Airbnb attracts a different kind of customer and makes the pie bigger rather than taking a slice of the lodging market. Although Airbnb executives and others within the lodging industry feel Airbnb complements traditional brick-and-mortar hotels, analysis of recent revenue shifts within the industry suggests Airbnb is slicing into the profits of hotels. As you can see in the chart displayed on the screen, Airbnb's percent share of demand within the lodging market is increasing steadily. For this reason, we feel Airbnb serves as a competitor to hotels in the lodging industry. However, Airbnb is a complement to the products and services individuals would purchase while traveling, such as airline tickets and rental cars. And now, Ernesto will be speaking with you regarding how Airbnb has responded to rivalry.
Thank you, Nick. And now I'm going to talk about some of the strategies that Airbnb has used to manage its rivalry and how they have responded to some of the backlash they have faced from the industry. So, about a year ago, one of Airbnb's largest competitors, Expedia, purchased HomeAway, a place where customers can rent out entire homes for a vacation. With the acquisition, they now had access and control to over 1.2 million listings, which allowed Expedia to compete much more effectively with Airbnb's 2 million listings. In response to Expedia's entrance into the market, Airbnb launched a new plan to handle all aspects of a traveler's trip. Similar to Expedia, Airbnb wants to be the one place where customers can arrange their whole trip. They want to be able to arrange tours, book their flights, their car rentals, and restaurant reservations. However, unlike Expedia, the tours will be unique and aligned with the company's, quote, live like a local, unquote, mantra. Instead of providing an entire travel or vacation package that tacks on activities that locals never do, they like going on cruises around the bay or spending the day drinking wine. They want their customers to immerse themselves in the activities specific to that community. Their goal is to provide experiences led by local guides that will take the travelers along exciting adventures that engages them with the local culture. It can prove to be a very effective strategy because the company will encompass the entire travel experience and make it very simple for travelers to organize their trip. Aside from competition from Expedia, Airbnb has also faced a lot of backlash from legislative and regulatory bodies. Authorities around the world fear the impact Airbnb is having on their communities and are seeking ways to restrict Airbnb's expansion. For example, in New York, a bill was signed that would begin to fine residents who rent out their apartments for less than 30 days without the tenant present. In Dublin, owners of a flat are prohibited from using Airbnb without planning permission, and in Berlin, people cannot rent out more than half of their flat without running a risk of being fined €100,000. So in response, the company has agreed to cooperate with city officials. Airbnb is willing to create a registration system where they can share information with the officials about its local hosts, including their names, addresses, and length of stays of their guests, and they would be able to cut off their hosts to reach the limit for nightly rentals. Additionally, the company has also announced plans to create home sharing clubs in over 100 cities around the world where hosts can unite and educate their neighbors and community leaders about the cultural and economic benefits of using Airbnb. Another interesting note is that although the company does not identify itself with the hotel industry, Airbnb is embracing paying hotel taxes. Airbnb is trying to favor legislators at the local and state level in hopes of developing a relationship with them to gain broader acceptance. In many cities, short-term rentals less than 30 days are illegal, and it is in the company's best interest if they can get the rules rewritten. A lot of government officials are reluctant against collecting any taxes from the company because they fear that it would sanction an operation that is considered to be illegal. So, in conclusion, we have talked about how the five forces affect the company and its environment. We have listed some of the company's competitive advantages and disadvantages, and we have provided a few examples of how the company is managing its rivalries and handling the industry backlash. With that, we thank you for listening to our presentation and hope you enjoy learning more about Airbnb.